All right, welcome back. You're watching Morning Cafe. And this morning we are daring abroad. Just what does it take you to build a career abroad, and what you should know before making this life-changing decision? Of course, Justice is already here in studio with us. That is the U.S. Nursing Journey Support Manager at the Kenya Nurse Consultants Limited. Karibu sana Justice to studio.
Thank you so much.
I want you to feel very much at ease. Tunataka tu tuambie tunaweza enda aje abroad.
Okay. So let me introduce by mentioning the organization.
Yes, please. That is the Kenya Nurse Consultants Limited.
Yes, so Kenya Nurse Consultancy Limited is a premium nursing consultancy firm whose main role is to support nurses with the registration process, equipping them with knowledge, training them, and guiding them with other licensing exams they need to do, holistically preparing a nurse to be ready for an opportunity. So yeah, we have been here since 2018, and our co-founder is based in the UK. He's also a nurse who dared abroad and went to the UK 5 years ago in 2018. And nurses or nursing is a global profession in that you can work anywhere. The license is your tool. And so when he went there, this is also something that motivated him and kind of like directed his vision and mission to bring more nurses on board, how they could immigrate to other countries. And we are concerned with how nurses can move to these other countries, but safely. We consider safety as our priority tool.
Yeah. You've talked about you're helping these nurses with registration. So what is the registration process like?
Okay, so before we can get there, maybe let me just talk about the minimum basic requirements that we will check out of a nurse before we can admit them. What we just need from a nurse, they need to be licensed by the Nursing Council of Kenya here, because this is the body that is in charge of like licensing them. Once you complete your nursing school, whether you are in college, just a 3-year program in college or uni, whether you are doing a BSN, a 4-year program. So you must do your internship and then you get your license, and we will check the license as one requirement. Then the NCK certificate, that is the other requirement we do check. Your transcripts, your academic documents, that is the minimum things we will be able to check. And you don't need like to have specific years of experience in a certain bed level capacity. So even a nurse who was just like freshly graduated out of college and even working in a dispensary, we don't give them this requirement that you must be working in a level 5 hospital or a facility with a lot of bed capacities. So I wanted to insist that because this is equal to each and every nurse on an equal level, whether you are experienced or with zero experience. And we also don't request language proficiency exams from nurses. So as long as you have the basic minimum requirements and licensed, you're good to go. Yeah. Of course, we'll check other academic documents because it is part of the documentation process, like your high school KCSE certificate. Yeah. So let's say those are the minimum requirements that we do check.
All right.
Yeah.
But now, how is the registration process like once someone meets all these requirements that you are looking at as the Kenyan Nurse Consultants Limited?
Okay. So let me delve into the registration process. So before somebody can be able to move to the US, you must be able to get licensed first. And you can't get licensed before following some steps and procedures. It's broken down into 3. And the first body you must register with, it's called CGFNS. So CGFNS in full, it's a Commission of Graduates of Foreign Nursing School. So it's just abbreviated as CGFNS. And the main role of this body is to ensure that it does validation and credentialing of your documents, or authentication or third-party verification, to ensure that actually your documents are authentic and you are legally practicing nurse in your country. Your documents are okay. So let me just go into the requirements for this step. We'll be able to still check your license, and that means NCK has to play a big role in doing your verification. So you'll have a form that you must...
That is the National Council of...
Nursing Council of Kenya.
Oh, okay.
NCK, Nursing Council of Kenya.
Perfect.
So this particular body must verify and send your license information directly to CGFNS. This CGFNS is in the US. So you and everybody who is trying to get to the US must be able to have a document or a report that is called a CS report that I'm just about to get into that shows that, yes, we have checked your license information and verified from the source directly. And at the same time, in equal breath, you just also have to take another form to your nursing school. Whether you did a diploma or whether you did like a BSN, that's your degree, or even you're having a master's, or you're having more than one entry, like diploma and then higher diploma and then also a master's or degree. You must take these documents to your nursing school. Your nursing school has to share your curriculum, all your curriculum you studied, directly to CGFNS. And this process normally takes like a month to 2 before you can be issued a document called a CES report. This is a Commission Education Service report that shows that, yes, we have checked your license information and we have also checked your nursing background in terms of nursing school. And yes, this person can move ahead to now register and moving to the second step, which is state board registration. Now, as you know, you must be able to register and move to one particular state in the US. It's not like Kenya, where once you have your license, you can practice like any county freely, you can practice any other place. So it's different in the US in that you must like move directly to a specific state, seek licensure in that state. So they have state boards and state practices around.
Do you think as Kenya that is something that we can also tap into?
It's possible with this devolution thing, and we can just try and borrow it in a way that it allows like mobility or something, but it's something that our nursing educators can look into, and before it can bring other issues like tribalism and all that. But it's just the US is too large. It's like the entire of Africa. So maybe that is the reason why. Yeah. However, if you register with one state in the US, nothing like prevents you from just getting your license endorsed in another province. So you want to do this process all together again, you'll just probably pay some registration fee to another state that allows you to get a license of, let's say, Texas, New York, because the US has like 50 states. So if somebody is having a CS report, they now move to State Board of Nursing. And this is where, as Kenya Nurse Consultants Limited, we try to guide a nurse on this state board is good for you. It has minimum requirements. It has like a seamless registration process, less turnaround time, less documentation needed. So we support and guide in terms of choosing for you the state or informing you. And what happens at State Board of Nursing, you do 2 to 3 things. You have to write a jurisprudence exam, which we support and train you. It's almost a 90 minutes exam that's just trying to have an overview of your nursing scope. It's not deep nursing content, just to see if you're eligible to really be licensed in the US in that particular state. And should you pass that exam, there is another process that you must do here. It's called Identigo or fingerprint pre-enrollment process. So with fingerprint pre-enrollment, your background check must be looked into. That's the criminal record. So we have actually US fingerprint cards. These are FBI provided cards that must be sent to FBI. So you have to take them to DCI or any Huduma center, and we guide in this process. Have your fingerprints taken, then shipped or mailed directly to Philadelphia in the US, the headquarters of FBI.
Yeah.
Where they will check your background. If your cards are approved, that means, yeah, they have actually taken one step to know that we're bringing a person who is able to save nurses. Remember, the primary role of a nurse is to save lives. So it's something they're like concerned. Would you be entrusted with a young, fragile child, an elderly person? They're just trying to vet and see whether you have any bad history, especially criminally. So should you have that, your cards approved, and you've passed your jurisprudence exam, now you'd be able to be given what is called an ATT in full. This is an authorization to test for NCLEX. So NCLEX, I'm coming there.
Yeah.
I'm not yet there. So this ATT is just like something that shows you have what it takes to write that exam. So before even writing a US licensing exam, these are things that is happening all along the way. And
you take them through it.
We're taking you through it. So all this time, I forgot to mention that training is ongoing. Remember, as Kenyan nurse, we know that passing NCLEX could be a challenge.
Yes.
And what have we taken or done to ensure that we have good pass rates? We have like actually a partnership with one of the best NCLEX trainers, who is our partner. We don't work alone. We work with other partners who are like nurse educators, people who are researched in the area well. And we have our partner called Professor Regina Callion. This is the NCLEX trainer. And she has a virtual training system that all our nurses will be able to be training for the entire 6 months. So this is to just ensure that we are preparing you to write that exam. So we have over 272 pre-recorded lecture videos. You have like a question bank, like a large volume of questions that you will be divided daily. And as the team at Kenya Nurse, we just ensure that a nurse is actually able to be in a classroom setup somehow, ensuring that, they're covering this content and they're actually moving toward like getting the concept.
The National Council Licensure Examination, that is the NCLEX, we agree it's a major bottleneck for most of these nurses. But now, as much as you're taking them through this training, and I understand that this is very much a requirement needed in the US as well, what happens now when the candidates fail?
So, so if you fail, this ATT I'm talking about, and that was almost, is where I was almost going.
Okay.
We are trying to actually, first of all, train you to ensure that you might not fail, so that we have a 98%, we have a 98 to 99% pass rate. Because imagine training for 6 months, being familiar. What Professor Regina does, who is our trainer and a renowned NCLEX trainer, she twists these questions in a manner that by the time you're going to write your NCLEX exam, it's much easier. And by the way, this exam, you no longer have to travel to India, you no longer have to travel to Israel or South Africa. You can just sit it right here in Principal Palace in Westlands. So it reduces some strange of like just anxiety and everything. But should you fail, ATT is normally valid for 90 days. So you can just rebook the exam. You can, it's actually doable. There is no limit to attempting to pass NCLEX exam. But we are taking like steps to ensure that you must pass. We normally say that you can, you must, and you will pass your NCLEX.
You must. So would you say Kenyan nurses struggle more with theoretical aspects of NCLEX examinations, or maybe the challenges in the difference with clinical practice?
It's more of the theory part of it, because remember what NCLEX does, actually, it's just trying to, nursing practice in the US slightly maybe different with this Kenyan setup, because they're more specialized. So I would say, like, if you don't get that initial training or a rigorous training, it's one of the challenges in passing this NCLEX exam. But again, we like to move with data and insights. Most Kenyans actually are passing this NCLEX exam in numbers. It's the truth. And I can say that this can be attributed to quality nursing education that nursing educators across nursing schools are doing in Kenya. So I would say that the nursing system in Kenya is strong, very strong than even other countries out there. It's just that the area that comes into the challenge is when people transition to work. That is the challenge that Kenya has. Like, our healthcare facilities are not well set up. That's where we have a challenge. But in terms of nursing education, Kenya has the best. And so we were in like a state board. You have received your ATT. You get to move to the third body, which is called Pearson VU. So Pearson VU is a body that is in charge of administering NCLEX examination for nurses all over the world. Remember, NCLEX is just an exam. Pearson VU is the body. I would give you just a rough idea. It's just like NEC and KCSE. One is an exam, one is a body that examines and administers this exam. So NCLEX is just an exam. And before a nurse gets to write that exam, you must register with this body, how you do with any other examination body. And they will give you, what they will be checking to see whether you have an ATT, first of all, from a specific state. And once you have that, they will give you the second ATT, the second authorization to test for your NCLEX. And this is when now you can do your exam booking and application. And at Kenya Nurse, we are able to guide like a nurse all through these steps, ensuring that by the time you are able to write your final exam, you must have also trained. So training is something that would be ongoing all this time.
Yeah.
And yeah, NCLEX exam, it's just like a 4-hour exam or 5 with around 85 questions to tackle to 120 to 130.
Is it paid for?
Yeah, that exam is around, it's just 25,000. That's the cost of the exam. So nurses have been made to think that moving to the US as a qualified nurse in a right way could be expensive, but the reality is it's something worth it to do. Like it's something that it's reachable, it's doable.
Yeah. As we speak, the government is also championing for labor exploitation, just linking Kenyans and nurses, of course, to jobs abroad. So what are you doing differently from what you're already hearing? The government is saying there's job opportunities abroad. In December, I think, let's start with February, just recently, there was a move to send at least 1 million workers abroad, that is annually, to countries like Germany and Denmark. In 2023, we had something similar where they wanted to send at least 2,500 nurses abroad, of course, to Saudi Arabia by that particular point. So what are you doing differently with what is already set on the table for these nurses?
Okay, first of all, I would say we, in a way, don't want to compete with government. We're just complementing.
Yeah.
And remember, as I was mentioning to you, Kenyan Nurse is a consultancy firm. We have processing firms, and then we have recruitment agencies.
Yeah.
So we're not on those two. We're on the consultancy part of it. So when nurses come to us, we actually do what consultants would do, making you ready for a job and an opportunity. So we don't give you the jobs, but transfer you to partners with jobs, because we don't work alone. I would say we inject professionalism into the process, documentation process, and try to subsidize some of your costs, because for instance, if somebody comes to our office anywhere in the country, we offer them just an initial free discount to create even an account. And when you create this account, you must go through your entries to ensure that no error is missing at all. It can take 2 to 3 hours to just create your CGFNS account before you can even submit it. So that is time which we invest, and just double check and put more eyes to it. So I would say it's something which we are different from them in that we make you ready for the opportunity. Once you're licensed, we hand you over to our partners with the jobs now. We have different partners, I've informed you. Yeah. We don't work alone. So we will prepare you to get your license in exactly 6 months. And I would say we still have some form of difference with these other two people I've informed you, recruitment agents and then the processing firms. In that, when you come to us, we empower nurses even in rural communities. We do inter-county tours, and as we speak, we are traveling to all counties, to remote areas of this country. So government, in a way, would just be advertising, but they're not coming to you on the ground. So we'll try to come to you and actually sensitize you on requirements. And what other thing we're doing differently, with us, we have minimal requirements. We don't check your language proficiency test. We don't want to know that, hey, and you have are you having a 5-year experience in a level 5 hospital? No. We even taking a nurse who is just on locum. We know that we have a challenge of unemployment in Kenya, but does this stop them from working overseas? No. It's just that we just want to empower nurses out there, including somebody who was just freshly graduated out of their nursing school. We know things are not just going their way, but somehow they are qualified. But this information is not out there.
Yeah.
That person is eligible. So 0 experience, 0 language proficiency, with no any other additional requirement level bed capacities, we need you. So if you go to these other people, they would give those requirements. Please, we want you to have 2 years experience minimal. We need you to have language proficiency test, and not just that, but over certain band score, around 7. That is another challenge of language proficiency. You can do it in your 1 attempt, fail. We have seen nurses also have challenge in that area.
Yeah.
So for us, we also offer these support services, any language proficiency, including what we call occupational English test. We offer you rigorous training. We support you with NCLEX training. Can you imagine our package compared to what government did with KMTC? We have a 6 months training, just at 25,000. That is like you're paying.
That includes also the NCLEX examination.
This is just the training.
Okay.
Can you imagine like 6 months? That is like you're paying some little dollars like per month to have access to videos, to have access to content. So we are really actually concerned with you passing the NCLEX exam. Yeah.
All right. You know, some nurses have also reported exploitation once they are out there. They are underpaid. They are working in very questionable situations, just similar to the ones that our Kenyan nurses are complaining about. So how do you now come in? I understand that you're just consultants, but how do you come in to ensure that this does not happen to these nurses just seeking refuge abroad?
Remember when I was talking to you about like our vision and mission?
Yeah.
We don't just flood any market like Saudi, Qatar. I'm not trying to demean these countries, but we just check and are concerned with safe recruitment or safe preparation of nurses and delivering them. Before a partner comes to us, we have partners. And before we can even like engage with any partner, we grill and ask them those questions like, where are our nurses going? What is their contract saying? Is there like a minimum wage that we know like this nurse would be least paid per month? Do they actually have hours to work? And which countries are you taking them? Because you see, even here, we're just talking about the USA, and we know like the US is a place that rewards nurses. We know this. So it's very straightforward. And that's why like we would just say like we ensure and take these questions directly to our partners. Before we can deliver a nurse who has passed their NCLEX, we have to ensure that we have checked at the contracts and terms they're providing and to ensure that they will not be manipulated.
Yeah.
And by the way, one thing, the process at Kenya Nurse here, we try to make it like self-sponsored, because if somebody is coming to you and telling you, let me pay for you everything, there must be a reason. They always say nothing is always free.
Free, yeah.
So if somebody does everything for you, and there's a challenge with that, like other agencies or these other two set of firms I was telling you about, they want to do everything for you, but they will still come with conditions. Hey, give us your 4 years experience, give us experience in 500 level capacity hospital. They will drag you along. By the time you're trying to write your NCLEX, you've wasted like 3-4 years. But when you do this self-sponsored, you're saving your time, which is the biggest asset. You can do it in 6 months. And I would say with us, we just really try to ensure that those issues of manipulation won't come. Somebody will tell you, I did everything for you.
Yeah.
Now, let me now deduct your bonus. And when you do this directly, we try to bargain for you the best deal in that you can get a direct hospital hire. So you can't go to an agent who is subcontracting from a hospital. That means already your salary could be deducted. When we know in real sense, the annual salaries for nurses like per month in the US are something lucrative, you see somebody will still try to deduct some good amount from your paycheck. Yeah, so we want to make it as much as possible nurse-centered.
To be seamless.
To be seamless. Why not just pass your NCLEX, handle your cost, give us your NCLEX pass. In fact, we will just hand over your NCLEX pass and credentials and your CV directly to the recruiters. They're the hospitals themselves are.
But you know, Justice, as much as you do your, you know, your name is Justice, quite a tongue twister there. As much as you are doing your due diligence as the Kenyan Nurse Consultants Limited to ensure that these nurses are not exploited in any way, these nurses are not frustrated, they're not harassed, anything can happen, just like in a marriage, you know. Sometimes people, you don't anticipate a divorce, but sometimes it happens, you know. So what protections exist to ensure that in case it happens, you know, this Kenyan nurse is protected at all cost?
Okay, so also one good thing, just first of all as a company level, and then we go to labor laws. When it comes to that, just as an organization, we also like ensure that the partners, there is a legal aspect in their contract that is bounding. So should anything happen, like you see, we would always like try and ensure this nurse has not just landed, but are their terms and conditions being respected? Are they being given like sufficient rest days, offs, annual leaves, things like maternity, things like bonuses and all that? So I would say it's also somehow like in the contract, there must be a legal perspective. And in those countries that we support, and majorly here we're talking about US,
yes,
like we ensure that this is like is something that they must be enforced, and we haven't like experienced such a case. Yeah.
All right. Just hold on there. We're coming back with you. Justice, we are talking about daring abroad, especially for the nurses. If this is something that you're considering, we have the Kenyan Nurse Consultants Limited in studio talking to us about what you should know before making this life-changing decision. We take a very short break at this point. Stay with us and interact with us on our socials, TV47 Kenya on Facebook and YouTube, on X as well at TV47 News KE. We'll be back in a short while.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's mind. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
Welcome back. You're watching Morning Cafe. This morning we're talking about daring abroad, especially for the nurses. If you want to pursue a job abroad, then this conversation is definitely for you. We have Justice in studio, the U.S. Nursing Journey Support Manager at the Kenyan Nurse Consultants Limited. And you know, Justice, I'm very much concerned about how Kenyan nurses are going abroad, you know. Do we have enough labor in our own country to be in a position or to have the luxury of transporting others abroad?
Okay. Yeah, sure. It's a valid question you've asked there. The reality is there's a big nurse ratio to patient ratio here in Kenya.
In Kenya.
So it should be at least small.
That means our pyramid is it this way? Ours, is it this way or is it this way?
Yeah, I think it's so uneven in that there should be like at least a favorable ratio, because one nurse can't handle like all these many patients, because they should be given some standard set of patients to the recommended ratio. So a nurse, basically what I'm saying here in Kenya is like already overworked. But the challenge is one, opportunities. In as much as there is a standard ratio, but our government or facilities, I don't know why we are not able to just ensure that they're hired. And it's just something concerning. There's money sure somewhere in this country, but they can't invest in healthcare to hire professionals and qualified nurses to somehow just come and support and reinforce these already strained nurses. I would say like they handle more than they need to. So that is where the need just comes in, because I'm qualified, my nursing license. Actually, the mode nowadays in nursing school is, it's like you need a passport to serve the globe. Patients are all over the globe. That's what you're being trained for. It's not just to serve your tribe or your country. You're serving like people without like a tribe, without a face, without like a specific country or nation. Anyone who is like trying to have saved, to have their lives saved, this is the person you're training in nursing school for. So nurses nowadays, it's something which they should just not be ashamed that they're looking to serve somewhere else. It's like patient rights are equal everywhere. whether you are serving like in India, you are serving in the US, you're serving in this place, feel proud about it.
Yeah.
And the reality is, if your country can't give you an opportunity, they're already like should not even be concerned why you are trying to leave.
You just leave.
Because like you're not violating any law. Also, migration is another right. They just quote one side, but even migration is right, is a right too. So I would say the challenge is overstaffing here and unemployment. So this is the challenge.
Overstaffing and underemployment.
Yeah.
Is it overstaffing and being underpaid?
That is the thing. Yeah. Because you see, there's more workload. That's why there must be like already more nurses to come in and support. You see?
But you know now what happens to our healthcare system if we continue training the nurses for that global market? Are we also now looking to transport some to maybe import nurses, or basically we're just working to export?
Okay, I would say, of course, there should be regulation in that. That's for sure. We have no doubt.
Yeah.
There must be regulation. And they should be concerned with safe recruitment and also like taking them to countries with these labor laws and ensuring that they are respected and treated with dignity.
Yeah.
That's like something we all agree about. But already there must be some things that we must look at. Our hospitals, can they accommodate all these nurses that get churned here in out of nursing school? We're not producing as many facilities and hospitals as the graduates too. That's the other factor.
Yeah. Too many graduates, few facilities.
Yeah. So unless that comes to a balance, or somehow there's like some balance, then we can have that conversation reasonably or like comprehensively. That's for sure. But that's why skilled migration is there. But let me tell you something, Anne. A nurse going overseas doesn't mean they'll never come to Kenya. In fact, when you're doing NCK verification, you sign this form like, please tell us why are you trying to leave your country? Which country are you trying to go to? Do you intend to come back? So they have the data. They already know, like, actually nurses want to come back. And they also...
They do want to come back?
Yeah, everybody wants to sure come back in a way. They'll even try to write a reason. There's a reason and form that you must fill. These are things that get sent when verification is being done. What could be done to ensure that you might come back? And you'll see comments like, if we had modern facilities, if we had study leave period, paid even a year, they want those chances. But in Kenya, you can't like have this kind of privilege, which is like available elsewhere. So actually a nurse in Kenya wants to serve Kenyans, but they're not just being treated with some dignity or some protection somehow. If you want to even study, like to do advanced thing, like not in laws, maybe that is the reality, but your employer will not give you a job anymore.
Because we also have this issue of Kenyan nurses, especially, I'm sorry to say, those who've gone to KMTC, they're very much underlooked in this country. And you know, I don't know if that is a major problem that we have, because if you're looking at now transporting labor, KMTC is a priority, and I understand that they give very technical studies there. They're top-notch in offering whatever they're offering, their lessons. But are we the problem as a country in terms of not really giving support to these nurses that the country or these nursing schools are producing?
Yeah, I would say on that one, it's sure on the government. But when it comes to our nursing schools, specifically KMTC I've mentioned, I think they're just doing the best. They're just like sure having the best curriculum. And on the matter of underlooking, actually a license is the minimum requirement needed out there. Whether you do like a diploma, you have a master's, you have a degree, you are all nurses. The only difference that would come is probably salary increment and everything like that. But on terms of like being called an RN, because once you pass your NCLEX, you get the name a US RN. If you're doing UK, you'll become a UK RN. So maybe just the difference would come with how you get remunerated, just because maybe you have a master's. But I would say everybody, and out there,
It's the same.
The license is the equalizer. In Kenya, probably there's still this notion of, you studied in that nursing school, I studied here. But out there's nothing like that. Yeah.
All of you are the same. And you know, sometimes I do health, a lot of health stories, so I interact with these nurses as well. And we see that sometimes these, when they go abroad, those countries sometimes prioritize their own nurses, not as much as they do prioritize our Kenyan nurses.
I will support what you're saying. Did you finish?
What puts them at a disadvantage now when they go abroad?
Okay. So that's true.
Yeah.
UK used to recruit Kenyans. They stopped somehow last year or the other year. They didn't like really stop. The new government came in and then they were like, we are prioritizing like locally trained British nurses, those who have like completed the nursing school from their institutions. So this twofold or kind of like reduce like inflow or like importing of nurses from countries like Kenya or other countries. So I would say there's that wave and narrative depending on how politics and immigration is around the world and labor. So it's true. That challenge is also like another reality, which tells us that at the end of the day, home will be our home. If other countries decide to do the same, because these other countries have this gap. But what about if this gap gets filled? So somehow we just have to make Kenyan healthcare system work.
Yeah.
And we just can't steer off that conversation and say abroad is always an option. Let's just get out to go. So there must be like a way to just come back and build Kenya. And at Kenya Nurse, actually, we're trying to say all our nurses out there, also we have like something which we must give back to the society in a way. And nowadays we call that brain gain. It doesn't have to be you going and taking everything there. They inject a lot of resources here, some established nursing school. The idea of Kenya nurses, for instance, is like for a nurse who is in the UK, is already a citizen there, so is employing many Kenyans here in Kenya.
Yeah.
And we don't know, maybe nursing schools could still come up. So there are many nurses out there already who are doing like giving back to the community. And what they are doing can't be underrated. Yeah, so I would say let them go, but they can give back. You can serve your country from another place because they can pay taxes. Yeah.
All right. Now at the Kenyan Nurse Consultants Limited, have you had a situation where you sent or you trained a candidate and they went there and they were overlooked? They were not really given opportunities as much as they anticipated. Have you had such instances?
Actually, quite the opposite. And we receive compliments like your candidates and country candidates are like the best. And some of them get to become OSCE trainers. They are given like, if it's like for UK, for instance, like from rising from band 5 to 6 to 7 that way. So I would say not in any way, because I think all this, again, I would point it back not to government but to nursing schools. Like they like have mastery of concept in nursing school. This is something that just shows them out and makes them to stand out there. So I would say a nurse from Kenya is like rigorously trained and is able to survive out there. Unless for any other reason, but if it's because of the training and because out there somebody is able to be rewarded with merit, not with maybe I know you, maybe this way, because that's how the world works out there. And we actually should work here in Kenya too that way. So I would say we haven't received that case and concern. Yeah, so far so good. Yeah, everything is fine.
When you talk about the nurses in Kenya are well trained, I understand that the Western healthcare structure is quite different from the one we have here in Kenya. And sometimes it's a challenge for these nurses who go there abroad. So are we training them enough to well adapt to the Western healthcare system, or what really needs to be done? What is the disadvantage with our training system?
Okay, yeah, there's a point there. There's room for a lot of like remodelment or readjustment into our nursing system. Sure, there will always be room. You must like evaluate and say, hey, the world is headed this way. You see, more of like combining the theory part with the clinical part, these equipments, introducing technology, because tech is coming out strongly in like a field like nursing or let's say in the healthcare. So I would say there's room for advanced training, ensuring these equipments like are being like brought closer to a lot of nursing schools. That is something sure we lack. And even though they could study that in nursing school, still they have the clinical rotations that is part of their learning. So there's still like some gap there. And I agree on that one. Both nursing schools and government, at least, or other relevant third parties could work together so that they can prepare nurses to serve patients globally, not just like here in the country.
Yeah.
Because even here in Kenya, by the way, we have nurses who are here from other countries, but we don't look at the country. We look at the services they're providing.
Yeah.
So we are also like supposed to be concerned, hey, are they receiving good training there? So
So when they leave Kenya, they also go further their studies abroad.
yeah, these like advanced training, like they're all eligible for refresher courses, those kind of things, with like opportunities to always advance. And then probably they can be even financed, if possible, by the employers. Yeah.
Maybe I'm curious now to know, now that we're talking about what puts them at a disadvantage when they go there in terms of the training that they have given here in Kenya and the one that is there abroad. Maybe has there been any instance where now our Kenyan nurses have gone there and they have outperformed their Western counterparts?
Yeah.
Or training is training? Because I remember when you were starting, you said something that when you go there, everyone is equal to this type of training that is given to these nurses.
So yeah, I would say let me just like go out of context a bit. Let's say in the UK, for instance, you can do once you get there, there's like their OSCE training. So but once you pass NCLEX for the US, you see, you're sort of like on the same level. But I will agree that American experience like gives you an advantage. And I would say in a way there's like that graph. The more like you are working in their system, sure, you'll be like more equipped and more trained. And I would say like the fresh ones at least have that disadvantage. But the more like you are there already, you can see how to navigate. And the system will just like separate you from a fresher or something, because you are more advanced to equipments, you've got more training. I would say also when you are like down your road of your training or like experience or working in a hospital, the more already you're working, the more it's like some form of training as well. Yeah, so I would say so.
Yeah. And let's talk about when they relocate. You know, they go there for better salaries, better working conditions, and you understand that they're also leaving people back here at home. My question is, do you have instances where the financial joy, you know, they're being paid well and it wasn't worth really the emotional toll going abroad? Because I understand when they're there, depression is quite prominent there, just to say the least, because now they are very far away from home. The work there is, the workload is quite a lot. So have you had instances where your candidates come back to tell you that, no, we went there, but this is not worth it, and they want to come back home?
I know those concerns are valid. There's that nurse who went there probably even single, fine. But you see, they're alone. Like there's no like that family integration. But luckily, most of these countries allow you to move like with things like your dependents. And by the way, let me just touch on the visa aspect of it. Once you get like your license, get a job, the next thing is visa petitioning. So there are two types of visas you use for the US. The first one, it's H-1B visa. And then the second one is the EB-3 visa. So this is like an employment-based green card that allows you to move with your spouse and your dependents. These are kids below 21 years. So in that instance, those who, first of all, from the word go here, get to go with their family, or they're married by chance, they're able to move with their family. The visa types itself allow you to move with your family. So we try to ensure that, we don't want to separate families. And these countries also like have this family reunification thing. They know that for a nurse to function well, at least they need a support system behind them. And they understand this already, and they have integrated it in the immigration that, if we're bringing skilled workers, somehow they just need to come with their immediate spouse and then the kids. So I would say for skilled immigrants like nurses here going to the US, settling, if they go with a family, is recommendable. But your concerns are so valid. Like somebody could be depressed out there,
Yeah.
and they might not want to come back, but they could feel that missing home every other time, because they feel they have a gap of family, of society, because it's just work, and there's no one to go back to at the end of the day.
Yeah.
The only reason that is just preventing them not coming back, sure, we know it's still going to be like the money part of it and everything, but otherwise, yeah, trying to miss home, most of them do. And
Yeah.
I've told you, they all want to come back here. It's just the opportunities are the problem. Yeah.
So maybe what are some of the challenges are existing that some of these nurses make before going abroad?
Okay. What we have seen in the industry, some of the biggest challenge is still passing exams like IELTS. That is the first one.
The NCLEX is okay?
Okay. I would say, surprisingly, I would say a nurse can pass NCLEX but fail language proficiency test somehow. I don't know why. English language. And actually, remember, the licensing part of it, you don't need language. You don't need IELTS or any other language proficiency. But now for immigration, to get your visa petitioned, you will need like your IELTS score with a certain band score. So I know nurses who have done it 3-4 times. And remember, it's not free. You have to pay like another almost 33,000. Sometimes it's 38,000. The prices keep fluctuating depending on how the dollar is behaving.
Yeah.
So I would say that's like one of the challenge I've seen most nurses struggle with because of the, I don't know, it's just like a challenge, but we are trying to provide training.
Yeah.
The second thing is not necessarily with us, but documentation. Like if you have your documentation well put, which we try to put, if you don't have your documentation like just properly put together,
That is where you come in.
where we come in. So most nurses sure know that, yeah, going to US as a nurse, it's possible, but they don't have this information. Let me say that information gap is there. It's existing. People don't know the process. And, you know, it's easy to be, let me say, like, ripped off your money if you don't know. Somebody would just come and say, hey, we're providing jobs for nurses in the US.
Yeah.
We need this X amount of money. So you see, somebody coming from that angle is most likely going to rip off your money. But when you come with an angle of, hey, let's first get you licensed. These are the steps. We've invested in this information. And now we tell you, you have a license. Now here is a job for you. You see, that is another angle which we are doing differently. Because when you just hear somebody telling you, investing in the process, and somebody investing and telling you, do this, and like somebody telling you, we have jobs in the US, pay this X amount and you can go. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So you first need to get like, be ready for the job. We prepare our nurses for the jobs so that they can be ready. Because it's easier now to sponsor you. You remember I was telling you like some agencies would come and be like, we are doing everything for you. So it's much better to do the process, get the license on your own. Then an employer will be able to chip in from when you've passed your license.
Yeah.
Covering things like your visa cost, visa petitioning, and things like, yeah, even flight and everything. It's easier from that angle.
Do you think that is why some of these workers who go abroad are exposed to so much harassment and poor working conditions? Because they're using recruitment agencies who now give them their own terms and conditions.
Yeah, that is like a real reality of things, because not everybody here has invested in the processes and information. Like that's why you see, like we invest in information. We want people to actually know that being licensed in the US, it's on the open. You do first this, then do this and do this. And actually you can do it yourself. You can DIY yourself. We care about that part. We want you to know the information. But again, we are here for consultancy and just to ensure that your documentation is well taken care of. And then you will be ready that way. So I would say if you invest in information in people, people know the right thing and exactly how to just go about the licensing process. Getting a job, employers are looking for people who have passed their NCLEX full time. So you can get a job in a month or two max. Sign your contract.
What happens if now a nurse maybe ameamua amechoka and they want to leave that state job, that abroad job, before their contract ends, they want to come back home, what happens?
That's going to be an issue because, again, as you sign a contract, it's either 2 year, 3 year, or 5 year.
Yeah.
So you must also like stick to the conditions, and that would affect like your legal stay because your visa is affected by the length of your stay. But luckily, like something like EB3 visa, as you're living here in Kenya, you're also like moving as a permanent resident. So you're actually going here as a permanent resident skilled worker. So somehow you having like some form of safety that you can renegotiate probably, and you're not interfering with your legal status, because we don't want also a nurse to be deported, to be like because you left job for no reason. If it's for any health reason or any valid reason, there is room for that. But just because you left, that would be an issue.
Now, or what if mtu amesema my mental health is in the gutters, I want to leave?
Clinically like diagnosed, sure, you're entitled to that. Yeah.
All right. You know, we also have these cases of racism. Unfortunately, as much as we would love not to talk about it, it's there. We see some of these nurses being discriminated, maybe by the patients when they go there. Are you ensuring in any way that when they go there abroad, these facilities that they're working for are addressing such kinds of discrimination?
Okay, that stems out normally from employment aspect. So some American hospitals could be like, we are looking for adult nurses, adult nursing, because there's adult nursing. So they actually could have those kind of issues that we are accepting only American nurses or those trained in the US to handle pediatric unit. It appears at that level. But if it's more of like mental facilities, they have no issue putting like so maybe a Kenyan wanted like it's systematically designed that it's in the culture there. I know those cases could be there, but that's how they normally like appear. They try to put like other foreigners in other units, like in adult units, and let's say not in pediatric units. So that factor comes in. Yeah.
All right. Justice, of course, thank you so much for this conversation. But before we close, maybe you could tell us your location, your phone number, where these nurses can find Kenyan Nurse Consultants Limited if they want, of course, to the US.
Okay, thank you so much, and our viewers. So let me take this opportunity to tell all the nurses that they are welcome to our offices. We are located in Uganda and Kenya, and anyone can visit us in our offices from Monday to Saturday. And we are located in Eldoret, we're located in Nairobi here, we're located in Kisumu, we're in Kisii, we're in Kakamega, we're in Meru, and also we're in Mombasa. But I'll give out one contact if you allow me.
Yes, please.
That viewers can just reach out to us, 0716 192 248. 0716 192 248. So you can reach out to us. Our team is able to just guide you on what you need to get started. And yeah, we're glad to support you. But anyone who walks into our offices gets a free discount of CGFNS account creation. So yeah, they're welcome.
Is it only about daring the US, or they can also come and dare the UK with you guys?
Yeah, so we don't just do US. We also support nurses to live, study, and work in the UK. So they can reach out to us. Same contact, visit our offices. We are supporting like also students to just get nursing admissions here in Kenya. We have those who just completed their high school and they missed a chance, or they somehow want to study nursing. We're able to guide them here in Kenya, local schools. You see how we are also like impacting here locally?
Yeah.
We have people want to study locally. As long as you meet the minimal grades, we are able to reach out. And somehow also we do bridging. If you missed out like a specific aggregate on your KCSE, let's say biology, you didn't get the minimum cutoff. We are able to tell you, hey, nursing dream are still valid. Let's just do bridging for you and reroute you and help you to actually get admission into a nursing school. Get your license, and we are still able to support you to get to your destination. So that's one part we do, local nursing school admissions.
Yeah.
We also support those who are like trying to study overseas, doing like a top-up program in any field. They're welcome and they can still reach out to us. Somebody with just like a diploma, they want to get a degree in UK or the US or Canada, we are able to support them. Yeah.
Amazing. That is Justice, the U.S. Nursing Journey Support Manager at the Kenyan Nurse Consultants Limited, talking to us about daring abroad, what you should know if you want to build a career abroad as a nurse, the mistakes that you guys are making and that you should also just try and work on them. That brings us to the end of this conversation. We take a very short break, but farming is up next. We're talking about sustainable tree farming and its benefits, coming up with my colleague Stanley Nyarengita. Stay with us.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and